Immigrating to another country is never an easy choice. Many factors have to be taken into consideration: family, work, your future, and you might be asking yourself, especially in the midst of this global health crisis, is it even possible? Hi, I'm Yossi Witkowsky, South African attorney and Australian immigration lawyer. My immigration journey from South Africa to Australia might shock you to know that there are far less barriers than you might think. Let me share my insights with you.
Good day, my name is Isuru Yapa, CEO and owner of Sirus Migration based in Australia. Today I'm chatting with Mr. Yossi Witkowsky, our Australian immigration lawyer. I will be asking Yossi to demystify the process surrounding migration to Australia and to share his knowledge and personal experience with other attorneys or lawyers who are contemplating the move to Australia. So, Yossi, what is the process that you followed to attain admission as an Australian solicitor?
Well, I think the first step in the process that I followed was to attain a skills assessment from the Legal Professions Admissions Board. I went through the Legal Professions Admissions Board in New South Wales. After I attained the skills assessment, there were certain subjects that I needed to complete. Those were some theoretical subjects and one or two practical legal subjects. I then enrolled in studies with the relevant university and with the College of Law to do the practical studies. Successfully completed it, and then reapplied for my skills assessment. My skills assessment then came out as a positive skills assessment, and thereafter I could be admitted as a solicitor in Australia. I had to fly to Australia to be admitted in the Supreme Court of New South Wales as a solicitor, but during COVID-19 now, I'm hearing that they can do it online, so it can save people quite a bit of money.
Can you tell us a bit about the different skill visas a person could apply for in order to immigrate to Australia?
Yes, certainly. I think what I'm going to do is just speak about the 189 and the 190 skilled visa. I came over on a 190 skilled visa. That is a state-sponsored visa. It's basically a skilled visa which requires you to live and work in a particular state for 2 years, and thereafter you can live and work anywhere in Australia. I think the attraction for the 190 skilled visa for me was the fact that you received 5 extra points on the point system. As you know, you're competing with other people to get into Australia. Australia is attracting bright talent, and you are asking to be invited to Australia, so you're competing with various other people. So the fact that I could receive 5 extra points by using the 190 skilled visa made it very attractive. There is also a 189 visa which allows you to settle anywhere in Australia. You don't need to do your 2 years in any particular state at first, but I'm told that you require quite high points for that visa. So for me, I knew that I wanted to come to the state of Queensland. I did my research already, and I knew that I wanted to be in Brisbane, which is in the state of Queensland, and that's why I did the 190 visa.
Thank you, Yossi. Yossi, I know you're an immigration lawyer and a migration agent, and you're recommending yourself. Could you explain to people watching what is the advantage using you as an immigration agent?
Yes, you're right. I definitely am recommending myself, but there's a distinct advantage with using an immigration lawyer and an agent, and for actually using me per se. I would say the advantage is that I've been through the process. I am a South African attorney. I'm an Australian solicitor. I know how the skills assessment work. It can be quite tricky for attorneys, and even though there is information out there, there's a lot of information that's incorrect. There are some myths, there are some people that give you part information. And because I've been through the entire process from a South African attorney, being a South African attorney, to being an Australian solicitor and the immigration process, I know the holistic approach. I know all the tips, I know all the tricks, and I'll be able to really help you during this process.
We know there is a worldwide pandemic. So why should people start the immigration process now?
Well, to be quite frank with you, I think it would be foolish not to start the immigration process now. So, why is it important to really start the process now? Well, skilled migration programs are going to be opening up in October. You then get a skills list for various states and the federal skills list twice a year that comes out. So, if your occupation is on the skills list and you haven't started the process by getting at least a skills assessment, then you're going to miss out because the skilled migration programs could be open for a very short period of time because of the high demands and the high volumes.
Yes, it looks like we have some questions coming from a couple of our potential clients. Let's listen to what they've got to say.
Hi, my name is Jacqueline Smith and I'm an attorney registered with the Law Society of South Africa. I have two questions. The first one being, is there a conversion course that needs to be completed to become an Australian solicitor? And if so, what are the costs associated therewith?
Thanks, Jackie, for your question. Really good question. There is no particular conversion course to become an Australian attorney or an Australian solicitor, contrary to popular belief. What really needs to be done is you need to obtain a skills assessment from the relevant skills assessing authority, which will be the Legal Professions Admissions Board. They will then assess your theoretical knowledge and your practical knowledge. And then based on the assessment, they will tell you what's the gaps that you need to attain. In other words, the non-award theoretical subjects that you need to complete and the practical legal subjects that you need to complete. Once you've completed that, you will then be eligible to be admitted as an Australian solicitor. So basically, the answer is no, there is no particular conversion course.
My second question is, what is the immigration process after you have completed a skills assessment? Thank you.
Thanks for your second question, Jackie. But before I go into your question, I think for the benefit of those watching who don't know what a skills assessment really is, let me first answer that. A skills assessment is really an assessment from the relevant skills assessing authority. So, in other words, if you're a South African attorney, your skills would have to be assessed by the Legal Professions Admissions Board in Australia. They would then assess your skills as a South African attorney, and you'd then be told what subjects you need to do in order to bridge the gap to become an Australian solicitor. Once you've completed those studies and you are admitted as an Australian solicitor in the Supreme Court, then you receive a positive skills assessment. So let's go to your question. And your question is really, what is the immigration process after the skills assessment? Well, firstly, you need to receive a positive outcome for your skills assessment. Secondly, you need to lodge an expression of interest. After you've lodged an expression of interest, you receive an invite to lodge a visa. You then lodge a visa, and hopefully you receive a visa grant.
Hi, I'm Matt Olejniczak, a 25-year-old LLB graduate currently doing my candidate attorney articles at TNK Attorneys here in Claremont, South Africa. I want to know a bit about the process for a candidate attorney to immigrate to Australia. A lot of questions obviously surround this process. Mainly, what is the process for a candidate attorney to become a solicitor in Australia? And secondly, how much do the studies cost? Can one do it part-time or do you have to do it full-time? I hope you can answer my questions.
Hi, Matt. Thanks for your question. I really appreciate that. Matt, generally, there's three stages that you need to keep in mind when immigrating to Australia. First, you need to lodge a skills assessment. You ultimately need a positive skills assessment outcome. The second stage is you will lodge your expression of interest. That's basically saying that you meet the eligibility requirements to immigrate to Australia and that you really interested in a particular state or in Australia in general where you want to immigrate to. The third stage is that you need to lodge your visa. So generally three phases or three stages. First, your skills assessment, then your expression of interest, and then your visa lodgement. Now, I see you asked particularly around candidate attorneys. Now, the process is really the same for everybody. That's the general process. But when it comes to attorneys, obviously the skills assessment is slightly different. When it comes to candidate attorneys, I would recommend that you complete your articles of clerkship first. There's many reasons for that, but I think the most important reason is that so that you don't need to do a lot of studies when it comes to the skills assessment. The fact that you are a South African admitted attorney then makes it a bit easier when the Legal Professions Admissions Board discusses what studies you need to do, what either theoretical or the practical studies that you need to do in order to become an Australian solicitor. So my recommendation to you is finish your articles of clerkship, write your board exam, good luck with that, and then become an admitted South African attorney. And thereafter, you can apply to the Legal Professions Admissions Board for a skills assessment. Matt, the cost is approximately between $3,000 to $3,500 when it comes to the university subjects. And when it comes to the practical legal subjects, which you need to do through the College of Law, it's approximately between 2,300 to 2,900. This really varies from university to university, so I suggest that you go and check that up yourself. In terms of studies, you might think, yeah, it's going to be very expensive because they could load me with 15 subjects. With South African attorneys, depending on your experience that you have and depending what subjects you did at university, the bare minimum that they can give you is probably 4 subjects. And it really depends if you are a South African conveyancer. If you're a South African conveyancer, you might have less subjects because you wouldn't need to study property law practical. Matt, the good news is that you can study part-time. You don't need to study full-time. Your skills assessment from the Legal Professions Admissions Board is valid for 2 years, so you can really kind of span it out during that time. The studies are quite intensive, so you probably need to say goodbye to your weekends, but part-time studies is very doable. And I know a lot of attorneys who have studied and gone through this process and studied part-time. And math is really online studies, so that's nice. You can either go in live, but because of the time difference, you can go in and see a recording. Your tutorials is online, your lectures are online, you'll receive notes online. You obviously have your textbooks posted to you, so you'll have all the source material in which to study, and you have access to lecturers. So it's actually better than being in a physical class.
Oh well, thank you for joining us. Hope it was informative. Thank you, Yossi. Thank you for sharing all your experience and knowledge with us. And we hoping to be back with you very shortly.
Thanks, Isuru. Thank you for the opportunity to share my knowledge and my personal experiences with the audience. Please, if you want to know more, please remember to subscribe to our YouTube channel or to our Facebook page at Sirus Migration. Thank you so much.